What's up, friends? Welcome back to Rooted Wisconsin. Appreciate you for clicking another episode. Grateful to have you here. Today's episode is with Sara Hankes from Blue Horse Fine Art. Unbelievable wood-burned art that she makes. Guitars, any piece of wood she can get her hands on is unbelievable. Specializes in wildlife, so many cool like wolves, white-tailed deer, fish, horses, and a whole lot more. Great conversation, too. We talked about her journey into the arts. She has a painting background, how she was introduced to it by her grandmother, and some impactful teachers throughout her life, and much, much more. Passion for art is clear, and a really fun conversation. As always, shout out to our sponsors, Carouser, delivering non-alcoholic beverages straight to your door. If you're thinking about limiting alcohol in your life, Carouser is the place to start. Fantastic folks, great product, and they're ready for you. All you got to do is click the button. Epic Mortgage, great partners of the podcast, space, and much, much more. Epic Mortgage focusing on the human element of buying a house and helping you work through that process. It can be confusing. Let Epic Mortgage help. And another shout out to our sponsor, Genuine Lynn, making cool Wisco Roots apparel. Right above my head, you can see the hats. Check out her website. Cool thing she does is for high school athletic clubs is a large part of her business. And you can have a shop for your high school or your business up that people can order and get made on demand. So you don't end up with a ton of this inventory. You can have this revolving door of apparel coming to you. She makes some really cool one-off projects as well, too. Check out her website. Sponsors are what keep these episodes coming. Appreciate them, and we appreciate you for being here. Let's get this episode started with Sara Hankes.
As the years have passed, so have the ways. We've tried to lift our neighbors.
So we usually just start chatting, and then he'll start the episode wherever it's like a natural progression.
Okay.
Were the roads pretty bad today?
Yeah. Well, actually, they were definitely slimy, but we had the truck, so it worked out pretty good.
Nice.
So, but it's more like following some of the really slow people. Like,
Yeah.
of course, it's Wisconsin,
That almost make it more dangerous sometimes when you go like super, super slow.
Right. But, I'm guilty of doing that in my car sometimes. Like, I'm that person who's driving like the grandma, and I feel bad because I know that there's people behind me. So sometimes I will pull off so they can pass me. But,
yeah,
trying to be courteous, but it doesn't always work out that way.
And patience is a virtue for everybody.
It really, yeah, we were, I was having a discussion with my boyfriend about that the other day with people who road rage so bad. I noticed like Manitowoc County seems like it's bad for it because I moved up there a while. Like I didn't grow up there. So I always laugh because like some of the people, like my daughter, when she was learning how to drive, like some of the people road raging were so bad.
Yeah.
It's almost entertaining though, in a sense. Like
It is. So that's something that's been a point of intention for my life. Like I'm really trying to get better at that. It's funny because like in the grand scheme of life, I'm very laid back. Like almost everything, but it's something about driving. And I had an anger expert from here in Green Bay on a few months ago.
Oh, that had to be cool.
Super cool dude, and we talked about it a little bit. And he had a lot of cool points that make sense about how like being like how are we perceiving the others driving? So like, is it someone who's stopping us from getting a goal in our head, or we have to be there super quickly, or like, what's the true reason behind anger when you're driving specifically? And I thought it was fascinating to think about because my wife's she's laughed at me since we got together. We've been together over 10 years now. And she's just like, you're always just so chill until you drive.
There's that one trigger point for everybody, I think.
Yeah. And we have a 4-year-old and stuff, so I got to tame it down. But I get it. Well, good. I'm glad you got here safe. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And I've been excited to chat. Like, it's awesome that you brought this huge piece for everybody to look at because, like, I found you on TikTok and, like, the quality of it jumps off the screen. And I was just super intrigued by it. I love wildlife art the way it is.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
it seems like that's one of your focus, if not the focus
It
area.
is
Is that
definitely
right?
the focus. Like, I will do things that people ask me to do, but if it's outside of my regular style, I begrudgingly agree. So I'll do it, but it's more my focus is definitely the wildlife.
Yeah, and is that like a point of passion for you? How did that start?
So that, I mean, like, I've always been into animals. Like, growing up, I remember running around galloping, pretending to be a horse when I was a kid. So, like, I've always wanted horses. So I eventually got horses when I was a teen. And then, I've always had dogs and cats and things like that growing up. And then, yeah, I bought a farm. But, I mean, that's the thing is moving out in the country and growing up in the country. You see so many animals and you kind of take it for granted a little bit, I think, when you see it from little on. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate it so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like something what's immediately apparent to us in our lives, sometimes we overlook as like normal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's easy to take things for granted and stuff like that. And I don't know, anytime I feel connected to wildlife or nature, like I just feel better.
Yeah.
And so that
At peace. It's like where we're supposed to be, kind of.
100%. Yeah. That's one of my go-to things. I've told that to countless people. Like when you say, like you're talking about just what are the things you enjoy or like when do you feel alive? For me, it's like when I'm as far in the woods as possible
Yes.
without anybody around.
Absolutely.
That's where I feel connected and feel, whole.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that too, and it's so funny because, like, growing up, in the country and playing in the woods and climbing trees when I was a kid, like, you don't really take that until then I moved to the city for a while. Like, not the city, I would guess if you wanna call it, like, Fond du Lac City, but
Yeah.
then I lived in town, and it was kind of a culture shock for me, like, I had fun with it, but at the same time, then I found myself starting to really miss that nature, so it's I mean, it just you take it as something that's always going to be there until you don't have access to it as much anymore. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to yearn for when you don't have it for a while.
yes,
No doubt.
absolutely.
So where does art start? I'm assuming this isn't like this obviously isn't your first piece. Is this the first style of art or where does art start for you?
It's been progressing so much over the years. It's honestly kind of like one of those things where I feel like it's kind of taken its own path, if I just kind of let it. So I started out, I drew since I could pick up a pencil. Like I grew up in a lawnmower shop because my parents owned one. And I was bored, like I had neighborhood friends to play with. So I do remember drawing from like little on. And then my grandma was a really awesome painter. And I never really knew she was that great of a painter, but she had like an arts and crafts room. So I'd go visit her and everything. And eventually she started teaching me how to paint little by little. Like we started out just painting, like those little plaster like figurines.
Sure. Yep.
So we always had fun going to the art store and doing that. And then over time she started teaching me, different things in art. It's kind of I laugh about it because she just had this nature about her that she was such a good teacher. And you never really know it because I don't want to say she's a quiet woman. She's kind of a blunt woman.
Okay.
But I needed that a little bit. Like there's things that obviously like I would do and then she'd be like, you could do so much better.
Oh, that's awesome though.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, she taught me how to paint. And then from there, I tried to experiment with different mediums and things like that. Eventually, I wanted to go to school to be an art teacher. So I took some art courses in college. And I always had really great art teachers throughout high school, too. So I always had that influence that I wanted to keep doing it. And yeah, eventually it progressed onto this, which was just kind of a fun twist of events and how it happened.
So then how did you start burning wood?
So 2014, I started for a few months and I got one of those, like, they have, you go to Hobby Lobby or
I had
like
one as
Walmart.
a kid, like the small wood burning kits you're talking about. Yeah.
Looks like a little soldering iron or
Mhm.
whatever. So I started out with one of those and I sucked at it. It's just kind of one of those things where I could do the lines and I could do the simple things. And I thought it was fun for a second. So it was kind of a passing novelty. But then I think a couple of years ago, I bought like another cheap wood burner because I'm like, crap, I kind of came short of my dad for Christmas. I need to make him something. So I made him a shop sign and it was just real simple. Like it wasn't artistic by any means. It was just a little like grandpa's shop sign. So he thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So then all of a sudden, I want to say it was last summer, all of a sudden he walks in. He's a big rummage sailor. He likes, in Marketplace, like he likes to go and buy all these random used things. So he was out rummage sailing and he walks in with this old vintage wood burner. Like, I mean, something that looked like it was from like the 70s. It's all metal. And I'm thinking, great, this is going to be interesting. Like, it's probably going to work like crap. And I think I sat there with it for probably 2-3 months before I actually fired it up. And I'm like, this thing's a game changer. Like, it got really hot and it maintained its heat. And I was able to do so much more with it. And So then I realized people really liked that style of work. And then I'm like, what else can I challenge myself to do with it? And then it kind of progressed from there, really. Then I want to say the following January. So yeah, I want to say not last year, the year before. So the following January, I challenged myself to do like this 9-foot piece. And it went really good and it just got me hooked. Couldn't stop after that, so I'm not stopping.
That's so cool. And that's the one that's in like your TikTok videos now with the loop at the end of it? Is that the tool you're talking about that he bought at the rummage sale?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. So it has the loop. I've actually gotten some different ones since then.
Okay.
So I still have the rummage sale one. They're called Detail Master, and they discontinued that brand back in like the early 2000s, I want to say. So now they're kind of a relic. You find them and it's just like, I started collecting them actually on eBay. I'm like, that's the only place I could find them. So,
if they're not making them anymore, you have to like,
right.
with what you're making, you can't stop doing this. So like load them up, fill up your garage.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. But I didn't know a whole lot about woodburning either at that point in time. So I had the first one that my dad gave me, and then I bought 2 or 3 more. And I was gonna say just in time, I bought one more, and then the original one that I had blew up. Like, I was actually doing a TikTok live, and it blew up on live. Like, there was smoke everywhere. It smelled like burnt plastic, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And I was, like, literally talking about how I'm like, if this thing dies, I die. I don't know. Like, I love it so much.
Yeah.
So I stocked up and got 2 more, and then, with that original one that, like, burned up, I asked my dad. He's an electrician. He likes to tinker. So I'm like, hey, like, what are the odds that maybe you can, like, see if you can fix this or have fun with it, do whatever. So he couldn't fix it. So he ended up shipping me what's called a Burn Master. And it's comparable to a Detail Master, but they're new and they're still available, but they're really expensive.
Okay.
So all of a sudden I come home to this Burn Master sitting on my doorstep. And I was like, whoa, I was so excited about it. It was exactly what I needed. So now I know that at least those are available. But
yeah. That's awesome. There's a couple directions I want to go right now. One, let's stick on the tool for a second. How does it actually work? I've been wondering that since I watched your videos. Like, it's funny. In my mind, I'm sure this isn't how it works, but in my mind, I picture it being like held to a flame until it gets that glowing, and then you go until it cools down, and then, but is it like electric or something? How does it work?
it's like really high voltage. Like, it sucks a lot of juice.
Okay.
So like versus like the old style ones, like the ones you're gonna find like Walmart or Hobby Lobby, like they don't. They suck juice, but they get hot and then they cool down right away. These ones maintain their heat, and that tip gets cherry red, like 1400 degrees.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I'll start things on fire with it. So it's like, it's all electric. So it hooks in my wall. And then you get these, I use an HD, they call it. It's a heavy duty cord that hooks between there for the pen part of it.
Okay.
So the pen, I have a specific pen that I like to use, and specific tip. Like, a lot of people switch a lot of tips, like the little metal parts in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of stick with the same one all the time. But that kind of style of tip, like, you get, has to be able to withhold that amount of heat. So it took a little bit of trial and error because I burned things up and melted some tips, and there was definitely it was a learning curve with that part.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that keeps people sometimes just from art in general, is because, like, I remember, so I've always been like, I'm envious of this talent. I'm not artistically talented in this way. Like, I play music and do some other things, but I'm envious of people who can bring things to life visually. And I think people like think someone with a talent like you that can make something like this is just like, wow, you got really lucky to be able to do that. But it's a ton of hard work, right? Learning how to do this and trial and error, and probably a bunch of pieces that you said earlier, like some art weren't great at the beginning, but then like you develop your skill, right? It's like anything else.
It is. But I think if you're passionate about something, and because you said you're into music, so and I'm jealous of people who are musically inclined. So it's kind of funny. We all want what we can't have, right?
100%. Yeah.
But at the same time, too, like, I feel like, to me, it wasn't a lot of work to get there, just because I had fun with it. It's kind of satisfying just to be able to, like, just burn wood. Like, I'm charring the crap out of it and just like, haha, like, watching the flames. So I'm like having fun with it at the same time. Yeah, I get my frustrations sometimes too, but I think that's going to come, like, even with music, you're getting something and you can't quite get that chord, or, it's, you work with it though, and you love it enough, it doesn't feel hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I don't know, there's gotta be, it looks like there's like a level of being therapeutic doing this.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
Yes.
You feel that?
And this sounds really weird, and I can't even believe I'm like admitting this on a podcast, but there's times even with painting, I used to just sit there and like I would, if I didn't play anything, usually I have music or a podcast or something on, and I would like, if I don't have anything, I zone, and it's almost like you get to levels in your mind, like it's maybe that's like meditation. You get to levels in your mind that you're really not aware of just normally as you're functioning, because like everything's so busy in life. You're thinking about the next thing constantly. So it is therapeutic because I feel like I've come up with ideas and just like, I guess epiphanies in my own head that I normally probably wouldn't have come up with had I just been doing my own thing, clean the house or just normal stuff.
Probably not even always connected to art, but just connected to life, right? Epiphanies about what you should, something you could do at work differently or something you could do in a personal relationship differently or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You start not dissecting necessarily, but thinking about things in depth. And, I think in a certain sense too, just about life in general. And it's given me a lot of gratitude towards life, I think, because, you kind of think about things that you really are appreciative of. So that you think about things that are problems in your life and dissect them that way and try to solve them, but at the same time too. So it is therapeutic. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I really kind of wonder where I'd be without art,
Yep. Yeah, it's almost something, one, it's something a lot of times that needs to come out of you, but two, sometimes you need it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think a lot of people look at meditation as this like grandiose word, and I wish more people were connected to and like knew about meditation. So I've went through this roller coaster of life of like, I'll meditate really well for a couple months and then things get busy and I let it fall to the wayside. And then like I'll realize a couple months in, like, dang, like I need to do this again. And my life and outwardly, I'm sure my presence is more positive and effective when I'm on the top of the mountain meditating than I am not doing it.
Absolutely. I feel like it's a kind of like general maintenance in your life, really. Yeah. But I mean, that's a funny thing too, is I feel like what I do is like accidental meditation. Like it's not planned. It just kind of happens sometimes where I'm just in that peaceful setting where my mind wanders and, you can kind of look at one thought and just kind of go on to the next. But it's funny because I used to be into like, I never really understood the concept of meditation until then. Like I would do yoga classes when I was younger and stuff and not really, I would lay there and be like, crap, I'm cold or something. Like you don't really drown out everything around you. When you're so into something that you're almost on autopilot, it's just weird how that happens. And all of a sudden somebody described what meditation's like for them. I'm like, that's kind of what it's like when I'm doing my art. So I guess I don't know if it is the same thing, but I think it is because I feel like it's helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And that's kind of what I was getting at. Like it's not one specific way. You're just trying to quiet the noise. Like I've had a couple conversations. I like hunting. I hunt a lot. And I've talked with like friends who hunt. And I'm like, when you're in the woods, like, I don't know, to me, like if I do an all day sit during the rut, that's an 8-hour meditation for me.
Absolutely.
Like it quiets the noise.
Yes.
It allows me to think about different segments of my life. Like I try not to be a scroller in the deer stand. Like I try to leave my phone in my pocket. And like, a lot of people that I've talked with, like, don't make that connection. They were in the similar seat to you. Like, meditation is one thing, but this is something I like to do. And really, one of the reasons you like to do it is because it's meditative.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like a byproduct of it. And I always think of it like, because I've talked to other people before who said the same thing. And, it's like you get out there in your nature and you're not, there's so many outside distractions in normal everyday life where, like I could sit there in between and be like, I'm going to take a quick break and go scroll. It's so easy to do and you don't even think about it half the time. You're going to look something up on your phone and all of a sudden you automatically go to social media. You get wrapped up in that for a while. And then, it takes away from a lot of that quiet space that I think that we don't normally hold for ourselves. So like being in the woods like that, I can't even imagine when you have 8 hours, however many hours of just sitting there with nothing but nature around you and no noise and nothing to distract your mind. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really cool, actually.
Oh, it's amazing. It's one of my favorite presences to be in. Like right when the sun starts to come up and you get to wake up with the woods and like eventually the birds start chirping and then if you're lucky you hear a little crunch, crunch, crunch and it's Man, I don't know.
It's kind of wild though, because if you think about it, like with so many distractions, with everybody nowadays, like I feel like the world would be a better place if everybody got that opportunity to be able to do that,
100%.
Like, I think that's part of it too, is just because like the distraction, like the level of distraction that we have is just so increased now, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So it's like the state of the world gets crazy. Everybody's more stressed out and
More stressed out. We have like instant dopamine in our pocket whenever you want.
yeah,
Like I found you on TikTok. I was in the middle of scrolling on my couch, 30 minutes in. And like I've always said, you don't remember your best day of watching TV. You definitely don't remember your best day of scrolling social media either.
absolutely.
But it's these instant little dopamine shots that keep people running. And we're certainly not going to turn the tide on that. But I think the more people can just take a few minutes here and there to intentionally quiet things.
Absolutely. I mean, I do think that there's a lot of benefit with social media and things like that, because I've learned so many things from like YouTube or from, from
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was going to say, so I have a little farm and learning how to do things on my own before I met my amazing boyfriend. Like, he helps me out a lot. But before that, I'm sitting here, like, I remember my furnace, like, I was late on calling to get oil. And I'm like, of course, when the furnace shuts off because it runs out, they got there like the same day or whatever. And I'm like, I'm probably going to run out. And I did, but I was only out for like an hour. But I had to restart that furnace myself. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
So I found it on TikTok on how to do it. But then I'm sitting here like in my girl power mode, like, yeah, I did that myself.
Yeah.
And even like fixing my lawnmower. So little things like that. I mean, social media definitely has its place, but it's hard not getting into the habit of just scrolling. Like, I know I'm guilty of it, absolutely. But
yeah, most of us are
Yeah.
at different points. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're certainly right. Like the first house my wife and I bought, like I pretty much remodeled the whole thing as a YouTube contractor. I just learned things on
Yeah.
YouTube and just kind of went with it. And there's a ton of value. And that's I never would have found your art without social media. Like you'd have to go through more traditional channels 20 years ago to share your art. Like you'd be at local events and you might have to have like a brick and mortar store or something. Now you can like film yourself making it, get people involved in the story, and then share your talent and your art via this medium. So there's
absolutely.
obviously a ton of benefits too. Like a lot of life, it's balance.
It really is. Like, I will have to say, like, because I did Facebook for a long time with my art, and that was with my paintings and stuff. And I really didn't, get anywhere with it as far as getting followers or anything until I hit TikTok. And sometimes it just takes that one, But yeah, I mean, like going out and actually networking, like I work full time too, so I wouldn't have had the time for that.
Yep.
And maybe that in the future, maybe I won't have to work, as hard full time,
Yeah.
because then I have this if I grow a little bit more. But in that aspect too, like I definitely have made a lot of sales from TikTok that I would not have made, I'm sure, even just in person networking. You have more of a direct line to, your target market versus
100%. Yeah. Ooh, target market. Perk my ears up.
It's right marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, and it looks like kind of continuing down that path a little bit. I'm guessing or assuming that a lot of your work is like one on consignment right now, right? Like not consignment. What's the word for that?
Like commission.
Commission. Yeah, right. Where someone reaches out to you with a project idea and you bring it to life, like the guitars and stuff, or do you create and then sell, or what's the mix between?
I do a big mixture actually. So like this stuff, I mean, I'm actually working on a lot of stuff. I'm going to be at the Midwest Horse Fair in April. And I realize I barely have anything for it. So that's what this is for, is I'm starting with that. Just starting a lot of original pieces. And I feel like I enjoy doing the original pieces more because I can just kind of take what's in my brain and burn it onto a chunk of wood.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy doing that, but I do commissions. Like Christmas was crazy with commissions. So it's a lot of dog portraits and things like that. But and I have fun with them and I love doing that for somebody. But at the same time, like, that's not 100% where my heart is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like like anything else, if it's something that comes out of you because it's in you and there's no outward pressure, that's the roots of our artisticness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes people give you complete artistic freedom, which is awesome. Like the guitars, that's kind of I had a couple of commissions for guitars. And normally I stopped doing custom commissions of guitars because I work with somebody out of Arizona and he ships me all the guitar bodies and then he does all the assembly. So that one's, it's one of a kind guitars. Like right now he's only on Instagram, but he's just starting out and he used to do like steel guitars and steel instruments years ago. And he sold to quite a few big names and then he got out of it because of the purists. So we are collaborating and doing this. So, yeah, the commission part with that, I did a couple of them and then I cut it off there just because that got to be a little bit too much. We're throwing money around because I'm throwing money at him to assemble. And then I'm just like, let's just streamline this.
Yeah, and you have this really long lead time of like you have a bunch invested in it, but you have, you can't sell it for like how long did this take? This horse one.
Okay, that's not the norm. It's not the norm that it only takes me a couple of days, but I would say that only took me about 12 hours, maybe 16.
Okay.
But a lot of times I'll be stuck on one thing and trying to make a decision about something and it'll take me closer to like a week. So it can take me up to 20, 30 hours, but
yeah,
it really depends obviously on the size of detail. But I was experimenting with a torch on this and different size torches. So I have the butane torches and I wanted to get some cool effects of the clouds and everything.
I was going to say that's the clouds and here this is torch work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was, I don't know, something I haven't used this much torch work before in a piece. But it was fun and I got some really cool effects with it. So, and then it flowed. Like sometimes you get things that don't flow and sometimes you get things that do. A lot of times, I think what takes the longest is actually just the drawing itself and getting the proportions right. There's still things sometimes where I'm like, I'm working on a piece right now with a calf and a horse and I'm like, something's wrong with his jaw. I know, I just know it. Like everybody says it looks good, but
Yeah.
So,
there's that piece that you can see.
Yeah, like I can pick it apart and that's all that jumps out at me at that point. So then I get stuck on that and it takes a while to fix it. So
yeah. It's awesome. It's just so striking.
Thank you.
And it's like the same, in person, like you mentioned, actually the smaller one behind you about how or maybe not that one, but the other couple that you put some kind of finish on and something and it took away some of the detail you said?
Yeah, I could show those off too. So I use polyacrylic. And the thing is like, so I do have TikTok videos of this one. Yeah, I do have this one. So I did that one and it was very contrasty and very detailed. And as soon as I put the polyacrylic, and I'm pretty sure it's a cherry burl, and each wood reacts so differently. So a lot of it's learning about how woods behave, and especially when you put a finish on it. And this one, for some reason, it just dulled it down a little bit. So I'm gonna have to probably go through and try to do some tweaks to it. But same with
the horns on that one are just crazy. Like that seems like it would be a harder part to me, the detail of the horns.
I was a little scared of them, but honestly, like it's weird because I feel like deer antlers are more tough than what this was because this is a lot of line work. Like you can kind of see how the lines go.
Yeah.
So as long as you do a fine line, and a lot of times you can do a fine line with, I use a spoon tip on like everything.
Okay.
So I know like a lot of pyrographers probably laugh at me because there's probably a lot of opportunity that I'm missing by not using all these other tips. But if you reduce the heat, you can get a really fine line still. So I'm like, it's just more playing with the heat than it is actually playing with the tips and switching things out. Okay. At least in my experience, everybody's different in how they burn, but
yeah. So you actually brought up something there a minute ago that I've been intrigued by and excited to ask you about the different types of wood.
Yeah.
What types of wood do you use and how do you acquire it? What's the prep work necessary? Like I knew a bunch had to go into that because like, I mean, if you've ever burned a fireplace, you know that this wood burns different than this wood, and they're all going to react differently. So how does that whole thing work as part of the art?
It's so funny actually, because like things that I never thought I'd burn on ended up burning better for me. So, okay, so most pyrographers are all like, oh, let's do basswood. Like it's, basswood's probably the easiest way to go. A lot of carvers use that too. It's kind of a softer wood. And it does burn great and you have a kind of a high contrast, but I feel like it's so, I don't know like what the word I'm looking for is. It's almost generic because it's just, there's not a lot of grain involved. It's kind of,
Very basic.
Yeah, it's very basic. Like go to Hobby Lobby and get some of those round basswood pieces. And I like to do portraits on them because they allow you a little bit more control. But somebody had ordered, I went to the sawmill in Winneconne and they had like the most beautiful woodcuts there. And of course, I went there for like one slab. I wanted to buy that like a really big piece. So I went and bought a giant piece of pine. But as I'm there, I ended up spending way more than I intended to because I'm like, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm not sure how it's going to burn, but we're going to try it. So then I had the opportunity in that case to experiment with a lot of different cuts. And I'm glad I did because some of the things that I didn't think would burn very well, like black walnut, burns beautifully. It's a harder wood, but the lines are so clean. So there was a guy he was in Chicago and he wanted it for his office and he wanted to have like Lake St. Clair, or is it Lake St. Clair? I think that's what it's called. It's like over by Canada, kind of.
Okay.
So he musky fishes there and there's like the Colony Towers in the background. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get that detail in the back. But with that kind of wood, it was actually relatively easy. So I feel like each wood has its purpose. And, obviously prepping it's really important. And I've learned that along the way because I've had some that have like these wild waves in it. Like, and I'm sitting here thinking, I thought I sanded it enough and here I didn't. So sanding is really important to have a good flat surface. You can work with the grain in some cases, but I definitely feel like it's been kind of, trial and error again, just on that aspect of it.
Sure. Yeah, and most of the time, if you're going and buying them, that's just rough cut slabs, right? So you have to sand that all down perfectly smooth and stuff before you start on it?
Yeah, typically.
Okay.
And he had a couple pieces there. They're actually already pretty smooth, but they still benefited from a little bit of sanding because he planes them and everything there, and then they're all kiln dried. So that's actually one thing I should bring up is that like having dry enough wood is really important because then it's nothing like selling a high dollar piece and then it starts splitting. Like,
Yeah.
So, just something that's already, it's dry. You're not going to have to worry about any issues. And plus it burns better in general.
Yeah. The first podcast studio I had this massive maple, I think they call them cookies, and it was humongous. Yeah. It was like, it was kind of shaped like an oval. So at its widest place, it was probably like 5 feet wide.
Oh my gosh.
And it was humongous. And I had someone, I can't remember the...
Like lacquer or whatever? Like
like the goopy stuff. I can't remember if it's lacquer. That's what I immediately wanted to say. I can't remember the phrase of it, but it's like a clear surface over the top.
Oh, is it almost kind of like a resin, not resin?
Yeah, like a resin. Absolutely.
Epoxy.
Epoxy.
Yes.
That's the word.
I should know this because actually we're going to go buy epoxy after we leave here. So.
Nice. So yeah, I got an epoxy top on it. It had this like crack in it that was filled with resin, and then epoxy over the top.
Was it the colored resin?
Yeah.
Oh, those are beautiful. Like the river tables?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But I don't think the cookie was quite dry enough before all that was done, and it ended up cracking.
The worst.
Yeah, I did it in a room in my house that I just put like a mini split in on the wall, and that was the heat and air conditioning. It didn't have HVAC running to it.
Okay.
So I think the combination of maybe not being quite dry enough and the temperature swings were wild. So that room would be, 20 degrees in the winter. And I think the freeze thaw cycle, and I walked in one day and there was this crack in the epoxy and I was like, oh, darn it.
Just the worst.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a ton that go into it. You mentioned hardwood in there. So I have a particular affinity for hardwood. I make maple syrup, so I'm really connected to maple.
Oh, that's awesome. My stepdad does that too.
Oh, really?
Just for the family. But
have you ever helped?
No, I want to though, really bad.
It's super fun. It's a ton of work, but it's another way to be connected to the outdoors at a cool time of year.
I'm laughing one day because he came up with a I don't know what you want to call it, but I went out in the garage, I was visiting, and he had this big pot, and he had like egg beaters or something in a drill, and he has it hanging from the ceiling rafters, just stirring this maple syrup, and he's that kind of guy. He just like...
just crafted up this like... way of stirring it.
Yeah, he just rigs things up to see fit. And like, I wish I could remember sometimes some of the weird inventions he's come up with over the years, but he makes it work somehow. And he's like, I'm not standing out there stirring that for that long. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Speaking of another life talent, when people can just like take the stuff laying around to just make cool things out of it.
Yeah.
But actually, along the maple syrup line, our sugar shack where we make maple syrup.
Sugar shack, I love it.
Yeah. My dad built our sugar shack just out of like stuff that was laying around his house. And I'm like, I just don't have that talent. Like
that stuff blows my mind too. It's sort of like, you can just take something and just, like you could take junk and make something creative out of it.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people who have like some of these really cute garden shacks and like, or they'll like repurpose like metal garbage and make it into things. There's so many people who have like that kind of mind where they could see something. I see it and I'm like, oh, that needs to be thrown away.
Yeah. But then the hardwood, like you can still do it on. What is that good for? Like, what is it? Maple, oak. What is that more traditional like hardwood? What can you make on that maybe is good for?
As far as like just for what kind of burning?
Yeah, because you said
Actually,
different ones do different things, right? So what's good for hardwood?
I would say just something with really clean lines. Like if you're gonna have something that doesn't have a lot of darkness in the background, I mean, in general, you're gonna have really good clean lines with that versus like basswood. You're gonna have, and this is actually maybe just my error, but I burn at really high heat. So, which I feel like that's kind of like what my style is in general. So when I'm burning on a softer wood, like I have kind of scorch lines around, like, and then I have to do some sanding and there's a little bit more after work. Like if I'm doing a hardwood, also like we have some of the darker ones with more grain. I use a little bit of watered down acrylic paint for my highlights. So the cool part with that is it just stands out and pops then.
That's interesting. So there's some acrylic paint in these pieces too.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
super cool.
That's what, like, you can see some of the, like, the white highlights in there, and it's just very, very subtle, but it's more in the application is what.
Oh, sure, like up on the horse's mane.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then even if you look in the background too, there's, like, in the sky here, there's, like, the highlight areas, and it's just I applied it a little differently, obviously, than I would've with the rest of the horse because I want that to be more like, bam, there's the horse, and then those are really subtle. So all I did is water it down and just kind of rub it in instead of brush it.
Sure.
If that makes sense. So, like, there's different ways to apply it. So I feel like some of the ways that my grandma taught me through the painting process has really come in handy with this too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've thought about doing the colored, like slate colored. I did try doing like a colored pyrography piece where I painted too, and it ended up looking like some kind of dollar store knockoff. Like it did not work.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I want to do something but subtle. So I feel like this little journey is going to go on some different spots too,
Yeah. And you said it was like 2014-ish you said you started burning wood?
That was my first time for a couple months. And then
okay.
I quit. That's the first time I ever picked up a wood burner.
Okay.
So I did it for a couple months and I'm like, yeah, that was fun. Like, let's go back to painting again because,
Sure.
yeah, I was getting frustrated with it wouldn't stay hot or whatever. And then I don't remember what year it was that I did my dad's sign. But then I'm just like, well, the wood burners that you get like on Amazon, usually they don't have very high longevity. So if you're going to do like a big sign, it's going to last just for that sign. Like after that, you can just call it garbage because it's not going to heat up anymore.
Sure.
So yeah, that's kind of what happened with that. I did the sign, that little pyrography thing didn't work. So I threw it out and it worked, but it barely worked. At that point, I burned it out. So then, it wasn't until the rummage sale one that the Burn Master.
Yeah. That's so awesome. So then the other angle that I think would be super interesting to talk about for a while, you mentioned your grandma again, and just like people in your lives' influence on your art. I think that's another thing we undersell at times is like the influence that others, especially those that we care about, and the intersection of that and what our passions develop into. I think about that all the time. I have a 4-year-old, so like I think about how, you think about it by osmosis, but like he's paying attention and that's going to like mold the things that he ends up discovering passions and finding things that he likes. So in your instance, not surprising to hear that several, your grandma teachers throughout the years have had an influence on that. Is your grandma still around?
She's not.
She's not, okay.
Unfortunately, but I was going to say that was because I'm trying to think how old. I think it was in my 20s when she passed away.
Okay, so she didn't get to see your wood burning work.
No, and that's the bad part is I wish that she was around. I'd love to hear her feedback because, I know she'd give me the honest feedback too.
Yeah.
She's so honest about things and just blunt. That's just how she was.
Yeah.
And she'd surprise me sometimes with some of the things she said. Like she taught me a little bit about even like art theory and stuff. Like she'd go through books and I remember being grossed out by like some of the artistic stuff in there. I'm like, ew, like you'd see the topless mermaids and she's like, that's art, Sarah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. The human body is beautiful. So I always just thought that was funny because she's very Catholic, like,
okay.
Very religious. And then just to hear that come out of her mouth, I was like, huh.
Sounds like a fascinating woman.
She really was. Like, it was just, she, on the surface level, when you see her, she's just your regular cookie baking grandma. She collected apples, but she had more to her. So it was kind of funny because I think she had a wild woman under her.
Yeah. And well, that's that's a theme, right? Like, you said she was very Catholic. Sometimes I think those two ideas, like artists, I think inherently are a bit more free spirited.
Yes, and I think she was underneath it all, but she kinda had this
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to say because I had limited time with her versus, like, my dad and my aunts and uncles might have a different view,
Yeah.
but
It could be, and at her age and when she grew up and stuff, a lot of people that I've spoken from that generation, like, that is a generational thing,
yeah,
like, where, uh, speaking of influences and passions, like, maybe the religious side of things was a different set of people influences in her lives, and then you discover this other piece of yourself that can come out too, and you wonder what her, just thoughts were throughout her life. Just hearing a little bit about her, she sounds, fascinating to be like, navigating the waters in between, "Okay, on this side of the river is this person, on this side of the river
yeah.
is the other person," and that's awesome.
Well, and it's so funny, and going back to our initial conversation even about, like, when we were talking about road rage
Yeah.
and how people are so multidimensional, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what actually floors me is, like, people are just multidimensional in general where you can see, like there's surface level Brad walking around and people get a certain impression of you, but they don't really know what's underneath. That's where I go with the road rage. It's like, okay, so people may have had a really bad day. Something could have happened,
Mhm.
You really don't know, but it's so easy to react to that kind of stuff too. Where
Yeah.
it's sort of like, okay, this person's driving like complete,
Mhm.
complete jerk, but we really don't know what the situation is, you know?
100%, yeah, empathy is important, and then, like, I think as humans, our brains like to we like to categorize, right? It's a
Yeah.
natural, so we like to put people in these little boxes, but then, like, the person doesn't fit in that box, right? That's not the entire thing, that's a little piece of them,
Yes.
but there's way more to it.
It's, like, kind of funny having that reminder of people even people that you grew up with and know like, I only got a hint of that other side of my grandma when she would say those, like, random things that were just shocking to me,
This
like
is art, Sarah.
she's just so funny on how she approached it, I'm sitting here thinking of her as just this devout Catholic woman when she had this whole other artistic, like you said, free-spirited side that
Mhm.
I think was kinda hidden in there that sometimes came out, so
Yeah.
like you said, putting people in boxes, it's so easy to do, but I think our brains wanna take shortcuts sometimes, and that's just
Yep.
the easiest way to do it.
100%, yeah. Well, I think, uh let's talk about feedback a little bit because that's a really fun topic. So, that honest, authentic feedback is really important in life. Like to
Yes.
have someone like it's okay to tell you like, this sucks. Like we can do better than this. And
Yeah.
then it sounds like she gave you all the tools to do that too. And those people in our lives are few and far between. So when you think about the voices that come and impact those passions, we'll continue on down that trail. Um the ones that will authentically say, "Hey, like, this one missed the marker a little bit," or, like, even someone telling you, like, "Hey, you're being a jackass right now, like, settle down."
Yeah, you need
Like,
that brutal push of honesty.
100
Actually goes so far, like,
Yeah. Do you think you'd be the artist you are without it from her?
absolutely not, I needed that,
Yeah.
definitely needed that, because that's the thing too is, like, initially when you're first starting out and you're like I mean, you're starting to get surprised by, the gifts that you do have. It's I don't know. I mean, I think everybody should have be able to strive to, like, push to get better at things no matter how good you are.
Mhm.
But at the same time, seeing that when you're younger, it's so easy to be kinda arrogant about it when you're younger and
Mhm.
think you don't have to change. So here I am, like a 10-year-old, my grandma's just like, "You could do much better."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Thanks, grandma." But now I've met people too, it's kind of funny over the years too. I have a friend that I had in high school, and her mom and I became friends because she just retired and she realized she's like this phenomenal painter and she has a great eye. And I can get a really good dose of brutal honesty from her. And I love that. 'Cause actually, I did a guitar for somebody and I put it on social media and she calls me up and she's like, "You're missing the spot here." I left a spot for the bridge, like for the actual saddle or whatever, the bridge where everything connects. And, I just don't burn there just because what's the point?
Yeah.
So she's like, "You missed a huge spot. You need to fix that. Like it looks." She's like, "It looks great everywhere else, but that's not right." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a spot for the bridge." But yeah, like that fact that she said that
Yeah.
meant the world to me because like I need that in a lot of cases. But she'll send me things too and have me critique them. And we know we have that relationship where we can be super honest with each other and we can pick our work apart and be okay with it. Like, we're not offended.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes I think it depends on the person. Like, if they're like always so positive and then they're just like, yeah, you need to fix that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what happened?
Yeah, it's not really saying like this sucks. It's saying it in the right way.
Yeah, like if my mom's always like perpetually, she's like one of the most positive people that I know. So it's so funny. And she's like, if I sent her something and she told me that there was something wrong with it or it looked bad, I would be shocked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how I would be appreciative, but I'd be really surprised,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important. So like my, the normal job is being a teacher, and like that's such an important part about that of like.
And that has to be hard too, though. Like, I think giving that constructive feedback, or in that case, like that's part of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be. Yeah, I'm sure you get used to it, though, right?
It is. No, you're right. It is a fine line. You have to balance, like, I always try to pick out the good pieces first. Like, you can find the gift in anything. Like, if someone puts time into making something, there's going to be something in there that you can say, hey, this is really good. Like, this is what we can build on. And then it's the areas of growth. Like,
Right.
This could be better. Can we think about this a different way? And it's certainly a balancing act, though, because there is value in talking about things that are poorly done or bad, because that's
Absolutely.
where growth happens. And what's usually on my mind when I am in that zone or doing that type of work is just maintaining the motivation, because there's a way that your grandma could have said it at 10 years old that would have made you stop. Like, there's a way that she could have said it and
Oh,
delivered the message
definitely.
that would have said, okay, and maybe this isn't for me and I'm off the way. Even if it wasn't like from a place of animosity or anything like that, it was just like maybe too blunt or something.
Right.
It could have stopped you. And that's something I think about, because we all know the percentage of people that start college and then graduate and the disparity between the two things.
Absolutely.
And one of the reasons is definitely that sometimes if you don't get the right kind of constructive growth-filled feedback, it can push you in a different direction. So that's constantly on my mind, balancing that with directing and supporting growth.
Yeah, I think you're onto something with that, because you always hear about the managerial context, where they say something positive, have the meat of the situation, like the criticism between, then end it with something positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always heard that. So I like, even with, other friends who are just like, hey, how does this look? If there's something that definitely needs to be fixed, I'll be like, I love this part. I'll start it with what I love most about it. And then, put what I'd probably change maybe,
Mm-hmm.
if it were my style. That's the thing, is everybody's so different. So you can't just be like,
Yeah.
I can't tell them to make it into my art.
Yep.
And then, just throw the other positive stuff in there too. And what
Mhm.
you're saying about the disparity too between like college kids and graduation. So my daughter's in college currently, and I know there's so many days she's just like, I just want to quit. Cause and like, obviously, and I think some of the teachers that she has in her learning style clash. And that's the hard part, because she doesn't get any positive feedback from certain people too. So it's hard.
Mhm.
They start thinking they're not cut out for it and they have no talent with it, when in fact they do, because all that you're hearing is a negative.
Mhm.
So
Super important. It's super important, and it's a lot like art, where it's not like, it can be a natural skill to a certain point, but it's something you have to work on and you have to be cognizant of. And
yeah.
it sounds like grandma probably did that, so that's good.
She did, but she was positive too. Like, if there's something she liked, she was always very proud.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing. Like, just I think I don't even, looking back as a kid, I don't know if that was that good, but she made me feel that way.
Mhm.
But then she would also throw the whole, you can do better. And I remember the piece too that I laugh about, is because I remember going through some of the art books, and they had like some of the impressionistic, like, like Van Gogh, like just very, very like bold kind
Yep.
of lines and things like that. So I tried to do a dog in that style, and it was not my style. We'll put it that way. Like, it was with oil pastels, and it was all smeared up, and it looked like crap. But,
Yep.
at first, at the time, I'm just like, well, if these people, like, their art's flying, like, this could fly, right? So
Yep.
grandma's just like, no, that's not you.
Again, the value.
Yeah, but like, that's the thing too, is like, you kind of wonder if that part was like shut down, and I realized I'm like, okay, so I am better at different styles of art. Just because I'm not good at that doesn't mean that I'm bad.
Mhm.
So, having that other positive feedback definitely kept that passion, full of fire, no pun intended.
I like it though. I like it. And so we can probably continue down that path a little bit of like feedback styles and communication styles because your like day-to-day work is in business development, right?
Yeah, correct.
So that's probably like you're constantly trying to have a conversation about how you can help solve someone's problem and identify an issue that you may be able to help solve. And I think like there's some skill in that translates or cuts across because like if you're in sales, you've probably been in sales trainings your entire career, different things of we need to mirror at this instance and we need to do all of that stuff. Sometimes it gets fluffy, sometimes there's crossover. Like what have you brought any of that into like maybe critiquing art with your friend or like even critiquing your own art? Like how do those two worlds collide?
Okay, this is where it gets really funny too, is because so working in business development, I try to be my sales tactic is very different than anybody's. I think.
Ooh, I'm super excited.
Well, I operate by honesty,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just talking about this yesterday. So if you go on Amazon, and I don't know about most people, I know what gets me to buy. So there's so much fluff online these days, and people can recognize a phony salesperson from a mile away. And I feel like being honest and saying the pros and cons and can I solve your problem? You know what I mean? Like, can I genuinely solve your problem instead of having to, the problem is too, is I have to deal with the customers after the fact.
Yep.
So if, they decide they're going to go with us and then all of a sudden they have nothing but problems and I was, bending the truth a little bit, they're not going to respect that. And I feel like I would be the same way. So if I'm going to go on Amazon and buy something and I see all this fluff in the advertisement, half the time, like if you're reading the description and they're talking it up so much, it's like, yeah, every company says that.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the reviews. Like I want to know what do real people say?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to be as real with people as I possibly can. And that translates into art too. Like I want to be real. I don't want to put a bunch of fluff on things either.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like transparency is really important and there's not enough of it anymore.
Absolutely. Builds relationships, builds trust, and then someone who trusts you and knows you is more apt to not only see that you have the solution, but trust your solution.
Yes.
And say, okay, 3 years down the road, if they need it again, you're Sara.
Right.
Sold it right. Yeah. The era of the the used car salesman,
Yes.
that stigma is in the past. And I think part of that is the information we have access to. We talked about that earlier. Like,
Yeah.
there's no wool being pulled over many people's eyes. Interestingly enough, Amazon reviews have changed a little bit over the years. Have you noticed that? I've become less reliant on them because I think how they've incentivized reviews.
Yes. Actually, that's funny too that you should say that because I brought that up yesterday too.
Did you really? Yeah.
Well, except it was like Facebook sponsored ads.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you look and I know I bought a supplement, I think last year, and I'm like, oh, these comments are saying that these people are saying they're having success with it. It's working. Yep. So I purchased a supplement. I'm like, well, this is crap. It's not doing really anything for me. So
Yep.
Of course it popped up later and I looked at some of the same comments. And actually, maybe they weren't the same comments, but there's similar comments where people are like, oh, this is a dream. It works great. So I click on the profiles and they're fake profiles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost gotten to the point where it's like you have to be really smart and really discerning on what you're actually reading. Like,
Yep.
is this a real review? But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, I would trust if a friend told me it worked.
Yeah.
Then I would just be more apt to buy it, or a
Yep.
few friends. Like,
Mm-hmm.
then they had a good experience. But even still, anytime you buy something, it's going to be a risk,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think part of what maybe started opening up my eyes to that, I had a couple students that were Amazon sellers, and I know a couple other people who have sold on Amazon from, find a manufacturer overseas, work with them to develop this product,
Oh, wow.
bring it to Amazon. And it's funny because I also know an author who put some books on Amazon, and in order to really get any traction, you have to get those reviews pouring in. So, I've had people ask me, not only can you leave a review, but one person I remember vividly saying, even if you don't buy it, just leave a review. And it didn't sit fantastically with me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then secondarily, I started thinking, okay, now if someone devotes their career to this, if this is how they're going to make money, and they're in another country or whatever, wherever they are, or in America, wherever really, are there people who have built like a network of like 100, 200 of these people that say, okay, I'm going to put this product in Amazon. I need this trajectory to take off right away. I'm going to drop it this day. You leave your reviews.
Oh, where they almost have like
Right.
a ring of people who are like working together.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the case. That's purely conjecture. But I know that I've bought stuff with 4.5 stars on Amazon that was all glowing reviews top to bottom, and I get it in a piece of shit.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely. It kind of takes you back to. Do you remember that app Wish?
Yes.
Like
I never used it, but yeah.
I bought, like, that's the thing too, is like it's been pretty rare that I bought something that I'm like, okay, I could see where maybe there's like a little discrepancy in like the quality versus how it's portrayed.
Yeah.
But there's some things that I'm just like, what in the hell?
Yeah.
Like I bought when my niece was born. This is a long time ago because she's like a teenager now. But I remember buying this thing. And it was like a baby, like a swaddler, and it was furry and it was really cute. And I'm just like, oh, this is adorable. And like it looked like it had decent reviews. And this is back then already.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it in the mail. It is literally like, I don't know what kind of baby they thought was going to fit in this thing. Like if it was a doll, it was literally like you could put like a newborn puppy in there maybe. It's
like the 3-pound baby.
Yeah. So I'm just like, well, there goes my baby gift. Like one of them, like
Yeah.
it was cheap. Like it's not like I paid a lot for it, but
Yeah.
I just think about the quality on some of that stuff. Like you can expect that 90% of what you get is going to be complete trash.
Yeah.
And it was, but that's okay.
It's so funny.
You live and learn.
But I think you're really onto something. Like that's I've had a couple people that maybe weren't like so comfortable. Like it's a little nerve wracking. You get behind a mic, you start talking, and they're like, "Well, what if I flub up a word, or can you cut it out and edit and stuff?" I was like, "I can," but I almost never do because like part of my intention with the podcast is to authentically share the stories of cool people.
Absolutely.
Authentic life is what people like yearn for and strive for. So we're talking about social media success earlier. Just as easily as people can see through that sales tactic of like being maybe a little bit too salesy or a little bit too perfect about what your stuff is, people can see that of social media content too. Look at the people that do really well. It's the people who are just like unapologetically themselves.
Yes, like they get on there, and I always kind of laugh because I see some of these people in lives, and like I'm part of an agency, so there's an eclectic amount, you know what I mean, like just different groups of people that are in part of this agency. And
agency that like manages your social presence or your art or
just my live streams. So I do live streams on TikTok as well, although I've taken kind of a 2-month hiatus from it.
I was going to say, I haven't seen one, but I just found you about a month ago. So.
And actually like right around Christmas, I started taking one just to get caught up in Christmas orders. And now I'm just like, okay, horse fair is coming up. I have to get going on that. So I know they're phenomenal because I know that I'm supposed to be 15 hours per month is a minimum.
Okay.
I have not done that and they have not fired me.
Nice.
But there's such an eclectic group of people on there. And there's some people they're, getting up first thing in the morning. These like, I'm sure they're just like stay-at-home moms or whatever.
Yep.
But they're so real and so authentic. Like, they have their mascara smeared on their face and they have like their top bun and they're doing great. They're killing it, a lot of them are doing like TikTok shop and stuff like that. But it's because people crave to see the authenticity.
Yeah. It's real life. Real life. I have actually a woman who used to cut my hair is Oneida, and she makes like she does this native beadwork.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
She does that on TikTok Live. Same vibe. Camera down. She's got a couple like her sister and I think another friend of hers, and they just like talk shop while they're beading.
I love that.
And they do super well with it. Like,
you'll have to give me your username. I love that kind of stuff.
I will. Yeah, she's awesome. So does that ever lead like do you connect it like that? So like when she's beading, she'll like the pieces will be sold before the live's done. Do you do that in the live?
In
like
some cases.
So people will be like, I want this one, and they'll buy it.
Yeah, actually, it was really weird situation because it doesn't always happen. Like I'll be working on something and I gain the most traction going live than I have any other social media. Like, as like I was saying, TikTok. Yep. That's what kind of blew me up in TikTok. Before TikTok, barely I had any traction at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have things that I had this one wolf. It's really funny. It was like had 3 wolves on it. Was that? I'm not sure if that was a 3-wolf one or I had 1 wolf. I can't remember.
Your
but
wolf pieces are beautiful, by the way. Those are some of my favorites
Thank
that I saw
you.
on your profile. They're amazing.
Wolves are some of my favorites.
Okay.
I have huskies, so it kind of translates.
All right. All right.
I call them my house wolves.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a wolf piece, and it sat for a long time. I didn't sell it, and I'm like, nobody's buying this. Like, I was getting really kind of, like I kind of lost steam on trying to sell it, and it was sitting in the background in one of my picture, like when I was working on something else, and all of a sudden, I had one guy who wanted to purchase it, and he was, saying, "Oh, I'll put some money down on it." And I said, "Yeah, here's like the information." A lot of times I'll usually just sell it on my website, but if people want to do partial payments, I'll do like Venmo or something.
Sure.
So I'm like, "Well, here's the information." And I didn't receive anything from him. And this got really awkward, actually. So then I was on live again, and it was still in the background. And all of a sudden, another guy wanted it, and he really wanted it. And the other guy came on, and he said, "I'm going to go pay for it right now." And the other guy beat him to it on my website. And I was just like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, I feel kind of bad, but
Well, people fighting over your art, though. That's awesome.
that was really cool. I don't know what happened if it wasn't for live. But I have had that happen a few times, too, where it's like other pieces where usually it's commissions that roll in from that.
Okay.
Like, people want their own custom work.
Sure.
And, it's mostly inquiries. I would say you get a ton of inquiries, and maybe 25% of those will turn into sales.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, it's fun. It's fun. It's interesting. It gets you more people it's planting seeds, really, is what it is.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I'm sure there's plenty of tire kickers who think you're going to like make something like this for $50 or something.
Yes.
It's like,
Actually, I was just talking about that too. I'm like, I'm not Hobby Lobby. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And nor should you be, like the time and effort and skill past even doing the piece, but getting to the point where you can make a piece of this quality. Like, that's all value. And that's a constant tug of war in an artist's life, right? People undervalue your stuff, and then like you nicely try to say, like, you just want to say, do you know how much goes into this?
Right.
Like,
but it's kind of funny too, because you get such a mixture of people. Like, as many of those people you also get the people who are like, when I was working on that 9-foot slab and I was saying the price that I was asking for, and they're like, you should charge more. Or you get people who are like, that's way too much. So, people have a different perception all across the board. And I imagine that there's different things that go into it, like where they're located in the United States or whatever country. Like, obviously the cost of living is going to be different everywhere. But
yep.
I know I've looked at other pyrographers that I've looked up to, like, love their work. And for small pieces, they're charging like $5,000. So I look at that and I'm like, gosh, it's so weird in the art world that you can slap a price tag on anything because it's handmade. Somebody out there might pay it. It's just, that's what blows my, I don't know if you heard about the guy who duct taped a banana to the wall.
I did.
And sold it for like a couple million or whatever. Like,
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, if it has art label on it and it's actually authentic art, which I don't see the banana, I don't know, that's a challenge right there. He's witty, but.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Have you been to the art museum in Milwaukee?
Years ago, actually, I think when I was going to school to be an art teacher and I was pregnant with my daughter, I went. But yeah, it was a really cool experience, except I was sick as a dog that day.
Okay. Sometimes I get that feeling going through a place like that of like, I wonder if it's just me who doesn't get some of the stuff, or like what the entire picture is. Because like the banana on the wall is a good example. Like, it doesn't make any sense, like.
No, but he calls it a comedian because he's being funny. And I think he's poking fun at people who do that stuff regularly, where they do these weird artist installations.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they do the strangest installations and it's called art and it sells for millions of dollars. It's like, how? How? So I think he's poking fun at that in his own way. And he's, it's kind of a, I don't know what kind of effect you want to say, because he's doing the same thing, making fun of it. But
Right. Yeah, but in jest. Yeah. And so that actually brings up one in my mind that I saw on social media. It was like this guy had like these buckets of sand stacked up, and the entire thing, there was this group of maybe like 50 people around watching this art happen. And he had these buckets of sand, and the art was to push the buckets of sand over. And then however it landed, and everybody just clapped and was having a good time. I'm like, man, I could do that right now.
100%. It's like the age-old question. I mean, you're not even adding color to the sand. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's the age-old question of like, what is considered art,
Yeah.
And that's why I think you get to the point where people take the fact that it's expression way to another level, on a level that's like kind of like anybody could do that.
Yep.
I question that too, is being into art. But there are artists out there too where they have like you're talking about the art museum and the things that have so much symbolism in them. Like,
Yes.
and it's kind of weird because it's like you have to have this like almost knowledge of how, the symbolism behind everything to be able to get the piece, unless they actually have a description of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to kind of go down that road with my paintings a little bit with symbolism and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like I'm way more simple than that. Like, that's not really me. Like, maybe there's a little symbolism there, but not like anything crazy where you're going to have something that's like surrealist art where it's like dreamlike.
Right.
Like it's something in a dream where you dreamt about like Alf being in the corner and you know what I mean? Like just something just way out there.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's probably like, of course, that's not black and white or cut and dry either. It's, and that's probably what I wonder what I'm missing, because like an art like yours is aesthetically beautiful. You can see it, you can know it's there, and you're amazed by it. When you have to like fill in the rest of the story is where that's where the gray area comes. It's like, do I not get the story? Like, do I not get the story of the bucket? Or like, what is the meaning? Or if you have to explain it too much, I think that would be hard as an artist.
That is the hard part. Okay, so I wonder that too though, because as an artist, like I like making things aesthetically beautiful, and you could still take it from your soul and just put it out there. You know what I mean? Like you can take your feelings and put them on there. Like I think every now and then I get like, I call it like a craving to paint or to burn something specific.
Okay.
And I have a certain style that I want it to be. And, it kind of goes with my mood. So, and it doesn't always go with my mood at that point in time. Like sometimes it's a fleeting thought. And I'm like, that would be beautiful though. Like you get it from that emotion at that point in time that you get that thought.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to like pushing buckets of sand and stuff like that, I wish as an artist I understood it. I don't at all. Like, I feel like maybe that there's some kind of, I don't know. I feel like the fact that there's all these people sitting around cheering, it's almost like they're rebels. You know what I mean? Like they're rebels of the art world. Just because people don't understand it, they like it more. Like,
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right. Maybe that's the mystique. Maybe the mystique is it being not immediately recognizable what it means.
Right. Like I kind of laugh about it. It's like they're all cheering and the guy next to him, do you know what we're cheering about? No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool though. So actually we can dive a little bit deeper into that, because I think I saw this on your website. Forgive me if I'm messing this up, but a core like piece of what you would call your mission or whatever, you have something on your website about like you want the pieces to tell a story though, right? Like, isn't there something about storytelling central to your art?
A little bit. Okay. Like I feel like my life kind of turns into the story where it's like obviously the horses and I'm into horses, and then that's kind of been the story in itself. But realistically, I want it to be like a viewer can look at it and create a story in their own head about what this is. Like,
sure.
Like I don't put usually anything specific about what this picture is about. I want people to interpret it as their own story.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where art becomes personal to somebody, because I can put what, like a core emotion that I'm feeling and try to convey it onto the wood itself.
Yep.
But when people are looking at it, they can create that story. I think it's funny because sometimes I'll actually look at my friends, the lady who retired who does the beautiful paintings. I'll look at her stuff and I'll see my own story on, just kind of how I think things played out. Like she had this like sheep in a barn, and it's so simple and it's so beautiful. But you kind of get your own interpretation by looking at it on what is going on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like the best songwriting. The best songwriting, the story is all up to the perceiver.
Yes, 100%.
The story is in your own mind.
Like some of the, like I love the songs that tell a story. I really, really do. But the ones where they kind of leave it a little bit blank that you can kind of fill it in, it's just like, I think I know what's going on here. But I can't help it. I impulsively Google it right away to find out what it was actually about, because I need to know, like, what actually, I know what I think it's about, but what do other people perceive this as, and what did the songwriter actually intend for this to be about? And sometimes it's kind of cool if they just kind of left it open and it is up to interpretation.
Yeah. I've been a frequent visitor to, I think it's songmeanings.net or something like that. There's a cool website where like several times throughout my life I've Googled like, what does this song mean or whatever, and it brings me there. And it's just, it's basically like a Reddit forum, but for the meanings of songs that people think that they are. And it's fascinating.
So cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. And like, I'm a lyric person. That's why I listen to music. I listen to music for the words, and
Yes, me too. I love words.
oh,
Just like lyrics, and they're painting with music. Like they're painting with words is what I'm trying to say. Like
100%.
it takes so much to be able to put that down. Do you write songs too?
I have. Yeah, I have, I used to write more than I do now. It's funny you bring that up. I've been thinking about doing it again. I haven't for
Absolutely
quite some
should.
time. It's, uh it's just one of those things. I'm a layman on the guitar. Like, I can play guitar. To somebody who doesn't play guitar, they're like, "Yeah, he can definitely play guitar." But as an artist, like, you know how this feels, like, you see people who can do it better than you, and I'm like, "Wow."
It's
Like,
wild
we
to
were talking about Jimi Hendrix on the way in, like, I'm not doing that. I'll tell you
well,
that.
yeah, but like that's the thing too, is like I think sometimes that can make you grow and it can hinder you at the same time. If you're
100%.
comparing yourself, like when you're
Yep.
because I was just talking about this the other day too. Like some of these people that I just like idolize in woodburning, the ones who charge like 5 grand for the little pieces, they do such beautiful detail work. But at the same time, I know that's not my style. And I try to cram myself to be that style sometimes and it doesn't work out.
Mhm.
So like you still have to give yourself the freedom to be able to have, you know what I mean, to be able to grow on your own in your own style. And I
Right.
feel like that's probably the same with like being a musician as well.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. A big part of, like, being a successful musician, like, who wants to do it as a job is finding your voice
Yeah.
and your style. And what similar to art, it's the same thing. Like you've mentioned your style a couple times in this conversation. It's the same thing. Like, think about your favorite artists. Like, you can generally hear most of the time, you don't even have to hear somebody sing. Like, you can hear that first guitar note and you're like, "Oh, this is Eric Church's band. This is Tyler Childers' band.
Yeah.
This is John Moreland playing an acoustic guitar." Like, you hear it and you're like, "Okay, I know exactly who that person is." And, I can't remember how we were gonna circle that in.
I
But
think when we like have idols, like that's the thing too, is like if you're not duplicating somebody else, like 100%.
yeah,
Although I think there are people who've tried to duplicate other artists, and
yeah,
I think along the way you find your own style. You have an inspiration,
yep,
and you trail with it. You know what I mean? Like, and
yeah,
somehow you still kind of branch out because it's still you.
yeah. Well, a lot of times, especially in the music realm, if you're a band that's really close to your inspiration, that can almost be a negative because you're not your own and you're not
Right.
authentic. I can't remember the name of them right now. There's a band that sounds exactly like Led Zeppelin. Like, they're amazing. I think they're from Michigan.
Oh wow, so they're close by too.
Yeah, I think they're a Midwest band. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the name, but
I wonder how
regardless,
that
like,
goes.
do you know Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, Robert Plant sings like no other human I've ever heard until this guy. Like, it's Led Zeppelin because that's who they are. And this other band is amazing. Like, they make original music. They're pretty big. Like, they worldwide tours. Like, they're a pretty big band, but I don't see them ever taking the next step because it's like, "Oh, if I'm gonna listen to that, I'm gonna listen to Led Zeppelin."
Right. It's almost that authenticity kind of
Yeah.
thing because they're kind of lacking it because they're so similar.
Yeah.
And that is the hard part. I see what you're saying actually, because those wood burners that I look up to, there's a couple of them and they have the exact same style.
'Kay.
Like you could tell like what I was trying to do, this other girl did.
Yep.
And she succeeded. She has a style just like that girl.
Mhm.
I didn't.
Mhm.
But I along the way somehow developed my own.
Yep.
If I could burn like that girl could, I'd be thrilled, but at the same time I'm not complaining. It's the best of both worlds. So
It's
like the whole
probably
Led
back to
Zeppelin.
what you said earlier about we always want what we can't have, and combine that with the self eye is always the most critical eye.
Yes, yes, that's 100%
Those 2
it.
things together, you're always gonna be wanting something.
Well, and it's just so funny, yeah, because I feel like, when I try to do detail like she can. I think her name was like Hippie North, and then there's another girl that looks like, actually maybe 2 other people now. I think they had the same idea I did. They're just like, "I love her work. I wanna be just like her."
Sure.
Like, her
Yep.
stuff is beautiful.
Yep.
And, so their work is very similar too, but
Mhm.
yeah, mine's definitely not similar. But I did learn things along the way where I'm like, "Don't be afraid to be bold with your darks." Like, just be bold in general.
Yeah.
And I think, like, yeah, if you're duplicating somebody who's big that much, you lose that authenticity and you don't have that surprise dynamic with it where people are looking at it being like, "That's so cool and different."
Mhm.
You know?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the balancing act too of taking from your inspirations, but not being your inspirations, like pluck
Yes.
this, and that's what ends up inherently making you you. It's interesting. So since we set up the podcast, I've obviously like looked at a lot of your stuff to make sure I was ready for the conversation. Social media has now been feeding me other wood burning
Yes,
artists
you're gonna get
with their
tons of
stuff.
them.
So I've been seeing the other ones, and before I found your stuff, it was something that wasn't even in my algorithm. But now, social sees that I see yours a lot, so they think I want to see a bunch more. And there is that. Like I never would have known before, like finding your stuff and having this conversation, that there could be such stark contrast in the styles of wood burning.
Yeah,
Because you think of like hot thing on wood, okay, it's going to come to life and this is what that type of art is going to look like. But that's not true at all. They look different and there's different
they're
styles.
so different too. Yeah, there's some people who they're not bold at all. They burn light. It's funny because I like to go to this place, I think it's like a woodcraft, and there's this lady who works there, and she's always like, and I will say her equipment is immaculate. It's beautiful and it's clean and it's like, it probably lasts forever. But I was going in and buying new spoon tips like every 2 weeks, and she's like, "How do you go through so many tips?" And I'm like, "Because I char the crap out of my work." And she's a low temperature burner, and she does beautiful work. So she that must be great. She burns while she's at work.
Nice.
So I have the opportunity to be able to see what she does. And it's very detailed, but it's very light and it's very subtle.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what I mean? Like I love her stuff, but it's definitely not me because I enjoy putting the tip on the wood and watching it turn into a flame. Like it's just, there's something satisfying to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, I'm like, I just char the crap out of everything and have fun with it. And she's like, well, she gave me some really great advice actually, because I wasn't cleaning the tip of my pen often enough. So I'm breaking it constantly. Like, because all that, the crease or whatever sticks to it, it damages it pretty fast. Her stuff is like, I laugh because mine's like this charred mess and hers is like shiny and beautiful yet. So I feel like there's different motivations too. Like some people want to preserve their equipment a little bit longer. So they burn at a nice low heat and they just take their time and are really patient with it. I'm just like, I have this thing in my head and I need to get it onto the wood and I want to do it as fast as possible, but I want to have fun with it too. So yeah, I just at the expense of my equipment, unfortunately, but I've learned how to preserve it over time now a little bit better than I did before.
They're making more. It's all right.
Yeah, that's exactly
Burn
it.
through
But
'em.
different styles are just wild, like on how different people are, even with the pyrography aspect.
It's probably harder you mentioned fine line work. It's probably harder to get a fine line with a lower temperature, right? The hotter, probably you can.
Not really, actually. No, I feel
Okay.
like a lot of it's in wrist speed too. So like if you have a low temperature and you're going really slowly versus, like I have some pretty bold lines in that one. And, you have the high temperature and you have to go quick. Otherwise, you're going to just char one spot and it's going to look funny or it's going to it's going to turn into a flame if you hover too long.
Sure.
So a lot of it's in the speed. So you can get some really fine lines at a low speed.
Okay.
Low temperature, but you also have to have a low speed.
Okay, interesting. And from the videos, it probably looks like there's a lot to do with pressure too, right? Because I notice like sometimes it seems like you press much harder than other times. And what is that? Is that what does that do?
So like if I'm darkening the background, I like to take it and flatten it out and then just put pressure because you can't see it as much in here. But I had the giant piece that I did. I wish I could have brought that. There was no way it would fit here. But
The 6 foot one you were talking about, or
the 9 foot?
The 9 foot
Yeah,
one.
it's like a bar top basically. But that one, I put a lot of pressure on that one because I kind of actually had an issue with it burning, but it also offered texture. So like when you're putting like a lot of pressure on it and you have a high temperature, like it literally texturizes the wood. So I feel like there's so much, we were talking about like Hobby Lobby art versus like real art. When you could see the texture and things and like how it was produced kind of, like you can actually touch it and feel it, I was talking with another artist about this not too long ago and she was saying how people like to touch and feel the art when it has texture there. Because I was trying to like decide whether I should do a polyurethane kind of finish or, epoxy or just try to keep the texture. So that's usually why I try to press harder. Another time with the big pine piece, I was starting off with that and then I trailed off again. That one it had a lot of sap actually.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of that residue coming out. So I kind of pressed a little bit just to kind of get past that.
Okay.
And then I got more of a burn that way. And that was something I didn't expect, actually. So that was kind of unplanned, but I pressed pretty hard on that one to get it to. That's why I went through so many pens on that one.
I was going to say pine pitch is probably really tough on the tips, right?
That was very, very tough.
Yeah.
And that was kind of around that same time I kept coming into the store and buying more tips all the time. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like...
Just burning a big piece of pine.
Yeah. And it's funny because that was one of my first big pieces.
Okay.
Like I had one bigger piece that was an eagle. And that was like one of my favorite pieces. That's when I graduated to the 9-foot slab.
Okay.
So I was still relatively new to woodburning when I started doing these really big pieces. And I was like, I guess I kind of thought that was the norm. Then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go through these tips like crazy,
Yep.
but it's okay. It's okay. So I just kept going and getting them. And now I'm sitting here and I've been doing a lot of smaller pieces because of Christmas. And I'm like floored because I've had the same pen last me the past 3-4 months. I don't know how I did it because I still burn hot.
Yeah.
It's just I don't press as hard. I think I'm starting to learn some different ways to preserve my equipment a little more too. So
Sure,
as
and
I was
still
saying
get
before,
the effect you're looking for.
yeah, like instead of pressing as hard, I just hover a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit teaches me patience as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what like what's the first one like when you when you got into it like heavily? So not like the earlier like cheap one, but when you got the one, what was the first wood burning piece? Do you remember being like, "Dang, maybe I can do this"? Do you remember what it was?
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. It was birds. Yes, actually, it was. And I look back on it. It's funny because my stepmom, I had like a gallery thing with my painting, and I brought that just for shits and grins, for fun. And everybody loved it. My stepmom bought it. Like I think she knew that I was going to get into it or something. It's kind of funny.
Okay.
So she bought that one and she still has it. So when I go to my dad's to visit, I still see it hanging there, and I'm like, it sucked so bad. Like, I can't believe she liked it so much. That's the one I like put the acrylic paint with and add the color pop.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's so dollar story. Like, it just looks kind of cheap,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what first inspired me to be like, okay,
But there
so
were some fragments inside of that one that
Yes.
you saw the vision come to life.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, I think this is fun to do.
Okay.
And then, that's kind of the first one. I'm like, this was an enjoyable piece to do. Like, I had fun with it.
Yep.
And then as I kept going, there was one instance where I was also in a gallery too at the time. I'm still in a gallery kind of, but I have to bring more pieces. But I was in a gallery at the time and I brought a wood burning, and that was, I'm trying to remember what kind of, it was birds again for some reason. I did one bird. It was one bird and some feathers. And I'm like, it didn't turn out half bad. So I brought it and they said that, yeah, keep doing the wood burning. And then the one that I really was like, okay, yeah, this is my thing. I did a moose and it sold instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I took it to the gallery. It sold instantly. The gallery owner's like, bring another moose.
Yeah.
Like, it went quick. And then I just kept doing that. And then it branched out into other animals. The first one really was a moose. You'd almost think it was a horse, but it wasn't. That's like my specialty. My go-to is always horses.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. So you're a horse person. You have horses. Like this one or any of the horse pieces, you mentioned also earlier that you did a specific dog for someone. Like, are these, like, is this horse a specific horse or is this one that you created?
There are horses that I just think look cool, like in my head. And I'm like, I want to see something that just floats or flies, like.
Sure.
Like sometimes you'll see a picture that kind of inspires you. And it's just
Mhm.
like, gosh, that's beautiful. Like, it just kind of like, then it sticks in your head for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
kind of have an idea of what you want. So not usually specific. Like if people request it, yeah, I'll do specific.
Okay.
But most of them are just like these fantasy ideas.
Okay. So when you did the dog for the person, did you just like model that after a picture of said dog?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Is
Usually
that harder then? Because it is a specific animal?
is a little bit like they have certain, like my biggest challenge I noticed, especially over Christmas, because I had a lot of them. I'll usually ask them to send me like 2 or 3 different pictures.
Okay.
And usually it works out fine. But, like they might have a specific marking and the lighting that they wanted in, like all of a sudden it's just not working out for some reason.
Yeah.
So then you have to mess with it. So there's a little bit more tweaking and things like that go along with it. The other part too is like if somebody has a horse they want done. Well, horses, like they'll change color all year depending on their winter coats.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm sort of like, okay, so this horse looks completely different than this horse. Like, which one do they even want?
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to stick to the headshots because it's probably the most tried and true way. But
Yeah.
yeah, it can be difficult. I mean, I feel like every single animal is a little bit different depending on markings and specific kind of things. I always say this sounds really weird. I start out with the eyes first in a lot of cases.
I believe it.
Yeah, if you don't get the eyes right, the rest of it's not going to work.
Yep.
A person knows their pet by their eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that has to be extremely difficult. I'm thinking about it. One of my favorite pieces of wall decor in our house. It's it's not a one of one. It's like a reproduction. I'm not exactly sure how they did it, but it's this blotches of different color, and it's
Oh.
pretty big. It's probably about the size of your horse here, but square.
Okay.
And it's a dog. And we had a chocolate lab that we lost 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
it happens.
Mhm.
You get animals and they fall in love with them, and then they go across the rainbow bridge, and we have to live without them. So
That part.
it is. The awesome thing about this piece, though, is it strikes bears a striking resemblance to our dog that we had, and it's just like this reproduction piece where they made thousands of them probably,
Yeah.
but it's these blotches of color that looked strikingly like our dog, and I was like, "Okay, gotta buy this."
Absolutely.
So we went in there planning to buy we were going through we were in a different town just going through stores as killing time,
Mhm.
not looking for anything, end up taking this big-ass dog thing home.
Isn't it funny the way it works? Don't expect it, and it just jumps at you.
Absolutely, and the whole reason about it was because it looked like Emmett. So, that has to be tough, right? I would think, of the art that you do and of the projects that you do, that's a tough gig to make someone else's pet come to life.
Sometimes it's really kind of humbling experience, actually, because, you realize how much you don't know on certain things.
Sure.
So, I've definitely learned it's been good for skills in general because I've learned, I've learned how to, fine-tune proportions because you can have a black lab or a chocolate lab, but like you said, that one looked like your dog. And, there might be certain things about a certain black lab that looks just like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
They might have a shorter snout or they might have
Mhm.
so you have to look at the things that make them and, be more observant about it versus I used to just be like, "Oh, it's a dog."
Yeah.
It has a white spot on its face or something like that,
Yep.
and just be able to know some of those characteristics, but there's more that goes into it, and, I definitely have realized it after a bunch of failures where I'm sitting here I could be like, I could just gonna do a dog with a, white spot on its face or a black ear or something, and then
Mhm.
realizing it looks nothing like that dog. It looks like a totally different dog with a black ear or white spot on its face,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really just it's made me more observant as an artist to actually look at it and just be like, "Okay, so, it has some weird characteristics, like its eyes are kind of set far apart, or it has a shorter muzzle, or it has,
Mhm.
there's just or its mouth is, set way back, some have the stretchier mouth, you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah. Yeah.
That's my husky, that's why I say that.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it's super cool, Sarah. I appreciate you coming on and sharing some of it.
I
It's
appreciate you having me, thank you.
yeah. Well, as soon as I saw the stuff, it just really caught my eye. I love talking with people with artistic outlets that come out in a plethora of different ways. We've had a bunch of musicians, we've had a bunch of film directors, we've had visual artists like you, and it always the conversation always intrigues me because I love shining a light on the thought and effort and passion behind people's art. And it's always through a different lens. The story is always new because it's always unique. It's unique to you. And I think it's so important just because I think just art in general and allowing our creativity to come to life is just so important. My mission with the podcast is connecting people. And I think I'm a firm believer that long form conversation does that.
Absolutely, it definitely does.
100%. Yeah. As soon as you can break down those barriers and get to the core of who people are, it doesn't matter who the hell you voted for. It doesn't matter what you think about this political issue. It does. But at the same time, the core piece of it is that when people can see and hear the story of why this even exists in the first place, I think it humanizes art, and also art connects us, and I just love telling the story of it.
It does. I appreciate that you have that view on it. It's kind of such a neutral ground for people. I mean,
Yeah.
unless of course they're doing like political art or something, but like,
Yeah.
stuff like, just generalized like wildlife art. It's such a neutral ground for people.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that most of us appreciate that kind of atmosphere,
Yeah.
I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people do,
There's comfort in someone being willing to bear themselves via their art, like someone who writes a really personal song or someone who creates a really specific piece of art, like that 10-year-old Sarah who showed your grandma, and I was like, look what I made. Like,
Yeah.
think about that feeling, and it's just so important. And sometimes the perception of the importance of art gets dwindled. Like, we hear all the time about how funding for art in Wisconsin is much lower than throughout the rest of the country and stuff.
Right.
And it's just important to continually shine a light on. So I
really
appreciate
is.
what you make, and I appreciate you coming on to chat about it with us.
I absolutely appreciate you having me on here too. And I love your podcast. So I'm excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much, Brad.